Your one last kick. This is gonna be it. This is the moment. Vicario kicks this. And Liverpool are there. Liverpool are Premier League champions. And there it comes. Crystal Palace, for the very first time in their history, are FA Cup winners. Oh, he's found the net. Oh, what a goal. Kvaratskhelia is through, wants to add a fourth, and does so. Ahmad, oh my goodness me. That is absolutely unbelievable. Nice again. Oh! You thought he couldn't beat the first one. He's gone and battered it. Another whip ball in. The header is in by Virgil van Dijk. Incredible. A very good afternoon and welcome to LFS for Premier League Live, our second game of this season and our first Saturday lunchtime fixture for you. And we've got a game at Villa Park to bring you this afternoon. Two very good sides, two sides who were in a battle for Champions League football last season. Newcastle United came out on top on goal difference on the final day over Aston Villa, but can they get the revenge and start the season with 3 points? Villa at home at Villa Park, which will be absolutely bouncing this Saturday lunchtime. Also this Saturday we have got a full roster of action at 3 o'clock kickoffs to get your teeth into a little later. Brighton take on Fulham at the Amex from 3. West Ham head to newly promoted Sunderland at the Stadium of Light at 3 o'clock as well. And we're in North London as Tottenham host newly promoted Burnley. They're the 3 o'clock kickoffs, followed by a 5:30 game that rounds off our Saturday action, which we'll have a live watch-along commentary of here a little later, as Wolves face Manchester City. But last night, the champions got off to a winning start against Bournemouth, winning by 4-2. Late goals from Federico Chiesa and Mohamed Salah meant it was Liverpool to win 4-2. Bournemouth came from 2-0 down to get back to 2-2 with those two Antoine Semenyo goals, but in the end, it was Federico Chiesa off the bench and Mohamed Salah, who is inevitable on the opening weekend. 10 goals in the opening weekend of the season in his Premier League career, more than any other player in history for Mohamed Salah. Unbelievable for him. So the champions off to a good start, and these two who finished 5th and 6th last season will want to get off to a good start themselves in this new campaign. Two sides with a lot on the line and a lot of storylines over the summer. We'll talk about Newcastle and their storylines because there have been quite a few of them this summer so far. Let's see kind of what we've got coming up for you then across LFS this weekend. As you can see here, Villa Newcastle is now. Wolves Man City at 5:30. Then tomorrow a double header as Chelsea take on Crystal Palace, followed by Man United Arsenal at 4:30. And then on Monday night, as we round off match week 1, Leeds against Everton at Elland Road. Well, let's see how both teams start their campaigns. Aston Villa host Newcastle today. They then head to Brentford next weekend. Then they host Crystal Palace at Villa Park 2 weeks' time. Then head to Everton and Sunderland, back-to-back away games before a home game against Fulham. For Newcastle, not an easy start to the season for them. They head to Villa today, then host Liverpool, the champions, next week on the Monday night. Leeds away is for them on match day 3, followed by Wolves at home, Bournemouth away, and Arsenal at home in their first 6 games. Well, that is not an easy start for either of these two. But as the Tifo says here at the Holt End in Villa Park, no limits to our dreams. That's what every team believes at the start of the campaign. Optimism is at its highest because everybody starts on the same number of points. They all start with the same starting gun, but it's how they start and it's how they go over 38 games that will define their seasons. Let's have a look at the two teams then for this one. And starting with Aston Villa, they have a new goalkeeper. Starting, Marco Bizot is in goal. A back four of Manny Cash, Ezri Konsa, Tyrone Mings and Luca Digne. A familiar back four for Villa after injuries catapulted them last season. Boubakary Kamara and Yuri Tielemans are in midfield with John McGinn further forward. Amadou Onana is also in there, with Morgan Rogers off the right-hand side, and Ollie Watkins, who was linked with moves away, but he is starting up front for Villa. On the bench, Wright, Torres, Matson, Bogard, Buendia, Jimo, Malin, Illing Jr. and new signing Evan Gusand, who might make an appearance from the bench. For Newcastle, all the talk about the man that isn't here. Alexander Isak not involved in the squad today. Nick Pope starts in goal. A back four of Kieran Trippier, Fabian Schär, Dan Burn and Tino Livramento. In midfield, that familiar midfield three for Newcastle. Bruno Guimaraes, the captain, Sandro Tonali and Joe Linton make up the midfield three, with Anthony Gordon, Anthony Elanga and Harvey Barnes starting in the attack. Eddie Howe said before the game that it will be Anthony Gordon who will be the leading man. No central striker, but he will be the one that will be the auxiliary centre forward for Newcastle today. On the bench, new goalkeeper Ramsdale alongside Hall, Botman, Tiao, one of the new signings, Krath, Osula, Murphy, Sung-Soo and Miley. Well, as I said, all the talk about Alexander Isak, but these two sides have a lot on the line. It's only match day one, and they're already facing a possible rival for European football. Kick-off here at Villa Park on the opening weekend of the season as we get your Saturday action underway. Kick-off is next. A very good afternoon and welcome to LFS for this opening weekend here. And last night we saw the champions in action in a thriller at Anfield, but now it is to Villa Park, another historic stadium with a lot on the line for the two teams that we watched this afternoon, and we're looking forward to seeing these two teams in action. Certainly indeed. As I said, Villa were beaten to Champions League football by their opponents today by just goal difference on the final day. A very heartbreaking way to end it in last season. But both have got European football, and that's all that will matter to them. As we are going to have a moment's silence, I believe, before the game to remember Diogo Jota and Andre Silva. Our referee Craig Pawson will get us underway with that in a moment, as we are about to have that minute's silence for Diogo Jota and Andre Silva. A wonderful, wonderful amount of respect here inside Villa Park. Two souls gone far too soon. Back to the action on the field then, and we're almost ready to go. As I said, our referee Craig Pawson, and Newcastle in their away strip of that mintish green and white shorts, and of course Villa in the very famous claret and blue, and they will be ready to rock here at Villa Park as the loss of a very famous Villa fan, Ozzy Osbourne, over the summer. They will rock on, and I'm sure Villa will be hoping he is watching from above, or below, in watching them this season. As we're about to get underway, it will be Newcastle that will get us going. And Premier League football returns to Villa Park for another season. And right from the kickoff, the ball goes out of play for a throw-in. That wasn't the most, the smartest of kickoffs from Newcastle United. And Villa have a throw-in deep in their own half. And it's great to be back with the Premier League. As I said, one of 6 commentaries we have for you across the weekend already. 1 down. This one is our second of the weekend, and still 4 to come between now and Monday nights. It's a good tussle there with McGinn and Livramento, and I think Livramento's going to get the free kick. John McGinn deemed to have been too physical, with the Newcastle left back. We see it again here. Livramento facing his own goal. He's under pressure from again, right on the heels of him. And he kind of just loses his balance. I think that's a good physical challenge by John McGinn. The referee and the officials didn't think so. That's why they've given a free kick to Newcastle. Well, as I said, a lot has been made. Headlines have been made about one player that certainly doesn't want to play for Newcastle anymore. But Eddie Howe said all his emotions today are focused on winning this game for his team and the players that are involved for his side this afternoon. And they certainly have a very strong squad, Newcastle. Of course, added to that squad with one of their new signings, making his Premier League or his debut for Newcastle this afternoon, in Anthony Elanga. And he will be one that has proved at Nottingham Forest over the last few years, and of course previously at Manchester United, that he is capable, certainly more than capable, of competing at the very top level of Premier League football. Certainly with the season that Nottingham Forest had last season. Once again, a good ball down that right hand side from Villa, but again seen out nicely by Tino Livramento on John McGinn, and that will be a Newcastle throw. They targeted that area early there. And interesting to see John McGinn on that right-hand side for Villa, because a lot of last season he was quite central and drifting to the left rather than to the right-hand side, the Villa captain. So it's interesting to see him in that position. But here he is. He picks up the loose ball, finds it through to Yuri Tielemans. This could be a chance. Ollie Watkins couldn't quite take grip of the ball. And now Newcastle want to break away with Tonali. Trying to feed it through. Here's a chance for Anthony Elanga. He's through one-on-one. This is a chance on his debut. Great save by the new goalkeeper, Bizot. Still not away though. And Gordon battling, goes down. Referee waves away any penalty claims. Here's Gordon lifting up the ball, going for the shot. And he lofts it over the top, although it takes a deflection on the way through. Well, they're claiming for a penalty there, Newcastle, but Anthony Elanga, great opportunity. A good save by the Villa keeper, Marco Bizot, the Dutchman. And then we see Kamara getting in a tussle there on that left-hand side with Harvey Barnes, and then Anthony Gordon's shot goes over the bar. That was positive from Newcastle. And Bruno Guimaraes is still having an eye on the referee about a penalty check, and the check for a possible penalty that was being made by the VAR is checked and cleared. And Craig Pawson shows that by pointing to the corner, which Kieran Trippier will be taking. So Newcastle with the first corner of the game, right-footed from Trippier. Ball lofted into the air. It's dropped to the left-hand side here for Gordon. He will keep it alive. Guimaraes, who slips on the ball there, and he's just about kept the possession there for Newcastle. That could have been awkward if it went wayward. Gordon switching the play out to the right side. Very congested area. Villa come up with the ball with McGinn. Trying to find Watkins. Nicely challenged there by Trippier. And it will go out for a Villa throw. You've got to say that was a great early save by the Villa keeper. Called into action early. Of course, Emi Martinez leaving the club in the summer. A massive, massive goalkeeper for Villa. And a big miss he will be, but Marco Bizot on his first Premier League appearance for Aston Villa has already made a very big save in these early moments, and one that he really needed to. Welcome in everybody joining us in the chat. Thank you very much for joining us for this one. It's great to have you with us. Premier League football is back, and we are so looking forward to keeping you right up to date with everything that happens here at Villa Park this afternoon and across all of our games this weekend. That's a little collision there. Ollie Watkins picks up the loose ball. Nice little touch there by Tielemans as he gets bundled over. The referee sees that's not a foul, and they keep going here, Villa, because there's Watkins. He showed too much to Livramento, but it will be a corner. Well, you gotta say, you forget how quick Premier League football is, because my goodness, there's once again, like last night's game, no time to breathe. You're constantly trying to keep up to date with everything that's going on. In this moment, I've been trying to find out who the VAR is for you, just to keep you right up to date with that. But at the minute, We'll let you know in a moment as Villa have this corner. 9 goals from corners last season, 5th in the Premier League in terms of ranking. It's not too shabby. Left-footed delivery from the right side. It's deep. It's kept alive by Mings at the back post. Watkins on that left side felt he was unduly touched, but again it comes back to Cash, who pings one forward, but he's pinged it into no man's land there. There was absolutely no one in that area for Matty Cash to target in Villa claret and blue, and that goes out for a goal kick to Newcastle. No. I don't know whether the Premier League app is having a bit of a laugh with me, but I can't find who the VAR is. Not that it's a massive deal, but I want to know. I'm intrigued now. I've piqued my own interest. Because we did have a VAR incident last night that was controversial at Anfield. There's going to be a free kick here to Newcastle. Both of these two teams had great campaigns last time round. As I said, both up competing for Champions League football. It was Newcastle that got that 5th and final spot on the final day, but Villa will look to try and respond this season and try and get Premier League or Champions League football again. They're in Europa League. Trippier's long ball forward, bouncing down around the box here. Gordon tries to snatch at it, doesn't really cleanly get it. And in the end, it's caught again by Bizet, who's been thrown right into the action early doors here for Villa. We got to say, we expect this from Premier League football this season. I think what we saw last night at Anfield, I think, is a glimpse of what we're going to get in practically the vast majority of games in this Premier League season. A lot of high-intensity attacking football. Both teams wanting to go for it, that aggression, that passion to want to win by scoring goals rather than trying to keep too many clean sheets or be too formulaic. Be a bit more free, be a bit more expressive. And that's what the Premier League at its best is. As Rodgers tried that through ball, the ball was on. It's just too overhit by Morgan Rodgers, but a nice idea from Villa. It's not the nicest of executions, but certainly in the right direction there. That's one area that Villa were so impressive at last season, was in transition, was when they did win the ball back. They were so quick at getting forward, they were so direct in their attacks, and they were so threatening time and time again that's why they were so successful, because the attacking quality they had up the field was just too good for opponents. Maybe they weren't the best defensively at times, and maybe they need to rely upon their goalkeeper a little more than they probably would have liked. But overall, Villa were very entertaining to watch last season, because all they were was, their main positive was how aggressive they were on counter-attacks and in transition, and it was really, really exciting. Certainly, personally, that's the football you want to see. Zalanga has a go at Lucadinha, and he does well there, Lucadinha, to rescue that for a throw-in just to Newcastle rather than a corner. Our VAR, by the way, is Peter Banks and Craig Paulson, the referee, for this one. I eventually did get it after a couple of checks, a couple of looks. So throw into Newcastle. Trippier takes short to Guimaraes. He stands out in a crowd, Bruno Guimaraes. He's had his hair dyed for the new season. It is platinum blonde, wouldn't be the right word for it. It would be kind of shiny white would be the correct term for Bruno Guimaraes' hair. Another foul there given away by Villa. Newcastle with another free kick. Fanta Light says, what are you watching it on? I'm watching the game on TNT Sports in the UK. One of the broadcaster of the match in the UK. Joe Linton. Now wide to Livramento on the overlap. Cuts it back inside. Nice ball by Barnes, and the header by Gordon is well over the top. But a round of applause from the man who got on the end of that cross. That was positive again from Newcastle, working it wide, creating the space for the winger to whip the ball in. And he got in a good area, Barnes. He's got a good right foot on him. And Anthony Gordon again trying to get on the end of it. Just couldn't keep the header down. But they're creating some good chances early on here, Newcastle. Villa still without a shot in the first 10-11 minutes. Newcastle have had 3 so far. So they're getting forward with pace and quality at the minute. That's a lovely little inside touch there by Rodgers. And here come Villa. He's brought down. No foul, said the referee. Says that was a fair challenge. But they've won it back well down this left side, Villa. Here is Rodgers again. He is remonstrating with the referee, but we play on with Onana. Now back to Konsa. Now Onana. Right through the middle, laid off by Watkins, but closed out well by Newcastle, who squeezed that midfield area. And now try and head on the break. Guimaraes with a high boot. And it's won back by Villa cleanly and not penalised. Matty Cash. Down the right side here comes McGinn, who has to reverse it back the way. Neither side have really dominated possession so far. Both are tussling for the ball on a number of occasions. And they're throwing in tackles. Certainly going into the deep end early, these two teams. Bruno Guimaraes, surrounded by many Villa players. Nicely stepped in by Mings. Good work in a tight space from McGinn to lift it to Rodgers. Back to his captain, who got in a little bit of a muddle with Ollie Watkins there, and that sees them dispossessed, Villa. Now Barnes. Down the left side comes Livramento. Back inside to Barnes. Barnes, who really misplaced his pass, but Joe Linton did well to win it back. And Barnes with the ball across again. Alanga miscued it and cleared away by Ezri Konsa. And that is better. Once again, Newcastle working the ball really nicely and getting into dangerous areas. Villa are a little bit of sitting ducks at the moment, because Newcastle are creating good chances, getting into good areas, and certainly setting up opportunities for their attackers to get shots on the Villa goal. That latest one from Anthony Alanga is just a miscue, but he was in a very good area to try and have a shot. Luckily for Aston Villa, he didn't get a clean strike on it, otherwise it really would have been threatening. As Barnes tried to ball in behind, but not on the same page as Anthony Gordon on that occasion. And Bizot can claim comfortably for Aston Villa. Well, a lot of Newcastle's attacks have come down the left-hand side so far. 47% of their attacking possession has come down the left channel. So they're targeting that area. So that's a blatant shove by Dan Burn on Ollie Watkins. That's going to see him get a free kick given against him. Yeah, he came clattering in there, Burn, and he just shoved Ollie Watkins out of the way to win the ball. A blatant and easy one for Craig Pawson to spot and to give a free kick. Ollie Watkins, of course, a massive factor in this Villa team. He became their all-time highest goal scorer in the Premier League era last season. McGinn's ball across. Oh, it was dangerous. Sher tried to get it away. It didn't go very far. Just to the edge of the box. And now it is cleared by Tonali. That was a threatening little ball there. And Mings does well to put it out for the throw. Under pressure. There's a bit of space here for Newcastle. Gordon. Trying to go for the 1-2 link up there, but not getting the chances. Lucadinha filing off the ball. Anthony Alanga. And that's going to be a free kick. Anthony Alanga, a pretty tricky customer. He's got so many attributes as the new man at Newcastle, and my goodness, he will add a lot to their team. Not that they didn't have many before, but Eddie Howe says losing Sean Longstaff was a blow to Newcastle, and bringing Anthony Alanga in is just what they needed. Well, they have a free kick here on this right-hand side. Far right side, right on the touchline for Newcastle. Trippier over it. Right-footed. Lofted round the back post. Guimaraes flicks it back to the edge of the box. Falls for Gordon, who has a go! And Bezit called into action again. And makes the save to put it wide for the corner. It's straight off the training ground from Newcastle. Lovely delivery round the back post. Guimaraes steps off round the back. Free man. He directs it back to the edge of the box. It is cut back to Anthony Gordon, who strides onto the ball. Has a clean strike with his right foot. And it's a good save by Marco Bezit, who has been busy. And he was called into action there again. Tonali to take the corner. Right-footed. It's an in-swinger. It's punched away by Bezit once again. And there's going to be a free kick to Aston Villa for a foul in there somewhere. And the referee calling for that decision. Well, as I was saying about Ollie Watkins, he became Villa's highest scorer in the Premier League era last season. He scored in all 4 of his Premier League home games against Newcastle. That's 5 total goals, so he has a very good record. However, Ollie Watkins has failed to score in all of his 4 matchday 1 appearances, opening match appearances in a Premier League season. So he doesn't start particularly hot, Ollie Watkins. Certainly not on matchday 1, but he certainly knows his way around Newcastle here at Villa Park when they come to town. Scher thumping the ball up the field. One for Gordon to target, but nicely dealt with by Konsa. You have to deal with it again. He does so well, Konsa. Kamara. Now Onana. Drifting wide here, Amadou Onana. He's got the space too. He's got options ahead of him. He's going to work it back in the midfield to Boubacar Kamara. Now Ezri Konsa. Back to Tyrone Mings. Onana trying that direct ball through the lines to Tielemans, but Tielemans had to stretch to win the ball and in the process committed a foul on Fabian Schär. That was a little bit forceful from Villa, a little too forceful. And Yuri Tielemans had to go for the ball, but he was too late. Schär did really well in covering. And it's a free kick to Newcastle. "18 minutes gone, Aston Villa 0, Newcastle 0 here at Villa Park in our first game of the day in the Premier League. Our second game of a 6-game coverage weekend. Dan Burn, long ball over the top. Anthony Gordon was in chase again, but covering was Tyrone Mings, and coming to collect was Marco Bezit. Well, let's talk a little bit about the new Villa goalkeeper, because as I said, he has been busy early on. He's 34 from the Netherlands. He was at Stade Brest for the last few seasons in France. He has also been at Alkmaar, Genk, Groningen in his home country as well over his career, and has made 1 solitary appearance for the Netherlands back in November 2020, the goalkeeper. Here's Newcastle again on the attack, wanting a handball in there, but that didn't look like handball on Tyrone Mings. Oh, they've given it away cheaply again here, Villa. Guimaraes, Joe Linton. Just forces it wide for Harvey Barnes just to keep the attack going. Now Livramento. Back wide to Barnes. Villa have done well to stifle them a little bit here, but Barnes still on the ball and trying to run rings around the defence as he lays it through for the underlap and run of Livramento, who lofts it into the air. But an easy catch for the Villa keeper. As I was saying about Marco Bezit, he kept 10 clean sheets in Liga last season for Stade Brest. Kept 2 clean sheets in the Champions League, of course, when Brest were in the Champions League last season. Did concede 14 goals, though, over the course of that 9-game campaign in the Champions League for Brest, or in his 9 appearances for them. 12 clean sheets in 41 total appearances last season in all competitions for Bezit. Actually combined 25 clean sheets across his last 2 seasons for the club. So he has performed particularly well over the last few years as he's in the latter stages of his career, but goalkeepers can go for a very long time in their careers, and 34 is a mere young buck when it comes to goalkeepers. 20 minutes gone, still 0-0. We'll go to the Championship. There's 3 Championship lunchtime kickoffs as well. We'll keep you up to date with that, as we do have Championship football here on LFS with our commentaries this season. Hold on a second. Barnes trying to make the run down the left, and was well dealt with there by John McGinn, tracking back. Derby won, Coventry won in that game at Pride Park in the Championship. Portsmouth now 2-0 down early against Norwich in that one there. Harry Darling and Josh Sargent, the 2 scorers for Norwich, who started with a defeat at Carrow Road last week. That wasn't a good start for them. And West Brom are leading newly promoted Wrexham. Isaac Price, who's got the only goal of West Brom's 1-0 win last week, he's got the only goal of that game in a 1-0 lead after 23 minutes for the Baggies. And as I said, Derby Coventry is that other lunchtime kickoff. It was Coventry that took the lead by Bobby Thomas, but Callum Ilder has equalised for Derby, so it's 1-1 there. We'll keep you up to date with those games right the way throughout the afternoon. All 3 of those lunchtime kickoffs will be in conjunction with this game, so they will be around about the same amount of times. The football fan says score predictions. Let us know your score predictions. What do you think for this game? I predicted 2-2 in my predictions that we put up on our YouTube shorts. These are my predictions, actually. I can show you them for the whole weekend on what I thought was going to happen. So these were completed before last night's game. So I had predicted Liverpool to win 3-1. It was 4-2, so they won by 2 goals ultimately in the end. But very close for comfort when it comes to that scoreline. I have Villa and Newcastle drawing 2-2 today in my prediction. And then we'll go through the rest of them in a moment, because Newcastle are on the attack. I want to keep alive at this. Villa again, strong in their defending. But if you look at the stats in the top right corner of your screen, all of that red is Newcastle. There is not a black bit on that screen, because Villa are yet to register a shot in this game. After 22.5 minutes of the first half, Villa are yet to register a shot. Newcastle, on the other hand, have had 6 shots, 2 of which on target. So Villa struggling to progress the ball forward into good areas to get their attackers into positions where they can threaten at the minute, and Newcastle are doing that with ease, it seems, at the minute. Rudy says, morning from the USA. Whereabouts in the USA, Rudy? Thank you very much for joining us. An early start for you, I'm sure. If you're on the East Coast, it's what, 7:30, 7:55 in the morning? The West Coast, you're up very early. If you're on the West Coast of the USA, it's probably like not even 5 o'clock in the morning over there. I mean, fair play to you getting up that early. That's what so many people love, the Premier League, and so many people follow Premier League teams over in America now. These early starts. Here's Yuri Tielemans for Villa. Matty Cash. Tielemans. Onana trying to manoeuvre something here, but Newcastle setting in a 4-5-1 out of possession. Very compacted midfield area. The Villa have to try and weave a way through. It's difficult at the best of times. Nice ball by Onana. Wide, but not a good touch by Luca Digne. And let the ball get away from him. New York. Thank you very much for joining us, Rudy. Great to have you with us for this one. A New Yorker in the chat. Great to have you with us. And what do you think of this game? Let us know in the chat. Those who are getting involved in the chat, do let us know what you think this game's going to be, what your predictions are. Are you supporting any particular team, Villa or Newcastle, or who are your Premier League team if you're just watching to keep an eye on this game? Let us know. Great to get you involved. And of course, anybody that's watching, do press that like button and subscribe, and do turn on post notifications, because as I said, we have 6 total. 6 of the 10 opening weekend games. We'll have live watch-along commentaries here on LFS across the weekend. This is our 2nd game of 6, and we'll bring you across the weekend. Right, Villa have a throw-in. Long throw off the left from Luca Digne. Up and away by Byrne. Nicely recycled there by Tielemans. There's the ball. Drifting off the left-hand side. Lofting it into the box. Dealt with well by Livramento. But Watkins trying to keep the ball alive. But he was An offside there against Villa. That is going to bring that moment to an end. Rudy says, I wake up early for work, so this is me sleeping in. I mean, fair enough. Fair enough. I couldn't do early starts. I mean, this, honestly, 12:30, kind of around about this time, like, that's early for me. Probably 10, 11 o'clock is early for what I'm used to. I'm more of a late night person. If you know, obviously, you're in America, the NFL, I'm a massive fan of the NFL, so I'm staying up for a pre-season game tonight at 12 o'clock. So I'd much rather be up at 12 o'clock into the early hours of the morning than be up at 6, 7, 8 a.m. It's not my type of time. Well, that's a lovely ball through the lines here for Anthony Gordon. He's in and with a chance. Can he get a shot off? He does, but it's blocked well. Lovely little run in behind by Anthony Gordon. He was well stifled by the Villa defence. They got back quickly. There's a glimpse of an opportunity that they can break away with Anthony Gordon. And they almost did there, Newcastle, with good effect. Nice work from Joe Linton, holding up the ball. Gives it out wide to Trippier. Trippier lifting it in. There's bodies in there, of which Villa get it clear with Matty Cash, who's gone central for the moment, which is interesting. And there's a shot from distance from Fabian Schär. He's hit them before. He can't hit one into the top corner of the net, Fabian Schär, but on that occasion, the ball got away from him, and it went slicing over the crossbar and into the crowd at the Holt End inside Villa Park. 27.5 minutes gone here at Villa Park. A reminder for you, we have another game later on this evening, 5:30. We're at Molineux as Wolves take on Manchester City. Man City looking to get off to a good start. Wolves under Vito Pereira, who ended their season well, but in the end, I gotta say, you know, a lot of people tipping them for relegation, including me this season. So Wolves might be in a difficult spot this season. We'll see how they start a little later on. Isak is a disgrace, says Rudy. Well, it's been a very controversial last few weeks. Eddie Howe wants to focus on this game as Anthony Alanga worked down the left there, but he just couldn't keep control of the ball. But Isak's behaviour isn't befitting of a player that you would think would be kind of the highest echelons of mentality. But at the same time, we don't know what's happened behind the scenes. We don't know if he was promised something that they haven't delivered upon Newcastle. That's some of the hintings maybe that people are saying. That maybe he hasn't been given what he was promised. But I don't know how that's the case. I really don't understand that. But it might be. Who knows? Behind the scenes we don't know what's going on. But clearly he's not happy with something. And he doesn't want to play for Newcastle anymore. He's made that abundantly clear. And that the reports are suggesting that he only wants to go to Liverpool. And, you know, if Liverpool get Alexander Isak, I mean, in the league now. But I think, really, Alexander Isak, it's all about player control. If he gets this move and he gets his way, players have full control and clubs really have no say in it anymore. That's where it would come down to. That, yeah, the club can sign him onto a major contract, but if the player wants to leave, the player wants to leave, and that's it. And I think, you know, if you're completely honest with yourself, Alexander Isak's behaviour, you can say, of course, you can say it's despicable and not great and really poor mentality and all of that. But if he doesn't want to play for Newcastle and they don't want him to go, he's taking it to extreme levels, and we'll see how it pans out. We've no idea how it's going to pan out. With about 2 weeks left of the window, 2 weeks on Monday, when the transfer window closes, and we don't know if Alexander Isak's still going to be in the Newcastle squad, or certainly with still a Newcastle player, essentially, or whether he will be moving on. But we're none the wiser as to know what is going to happen on that one anytime soon. Joe Linton, good battle there, but Matty Cash does well to see it out, and Matty Cash gets a goal kick. Joe Linton wanted a corner, but Matty Cash was confident, the Polish international, and it was a goal kick, and the officials agreed. 30 minutes gone, still 0-0. Rudy says, who is your NFL team? I don't follow NFL like that. My NFL team's the LA Rams. I remember my first Super Bowl, when I first got into the NFL, my first Super Bowl was in 2022 when the Rams beat the Bengals, and I picked the Rams before the game to win it, and I said that is the team I will follow. Whoever I pick before the game, whether they win or lose, that's who I will follow. And I just like the Rams, Sean McVay, and all of that stuff. But yeah, they're a very bright franchise, I gotta say. We've a chance this year, although every team says that. This is a nice chance here for Villa. They haven't had a shot yet. They might have their first shot of the game here with Ollie Watkins. Still going. He tries to pull it back, but there was no one in claret and blue there to deal with it. And lots of green shirts in the way. But look at the applause to Unai Emery. Loving that from his striker. Immense from Ollie Watkins. Gets them up the field, gets them in the right areas. Tries to never give up on the opportunity when it looks like it's gone. So they go for the long throw again, Villa. Cleared away by Joe Linton at the near post. That was the first real opportunity we've seen Villa get forward with any real promise. And Ollie Watkins certainly with any real promise. Always been a footy fan, says Rudy. Who do you support? Are you a Newcastle supporter, or are you? Who do you support, by the way? Did you see the Chiesa goal from yesterday? I thought it was pretty good. It was absolutely wonderful, that volley from Federico Chiesa. My reaction was pure just joy for him, because he's been full of injury, full of problems, full of issues over the last year since joining Liverpool. And, you know, not many players show up at Liverpool and don't work and don't produce. But Chiesa, could this be the season that, you know, he said after the game, I'm very happy at Liverpool, I want to stay here and win many trophies. And he seems like he's happy now. And if he stays fit, Federico Chiesa, he could get back to the levels of, do you remember in Italy, the winning team of Italy in the Euros in 2021? He was a star in that tournament. And injuries have kind of tormented his career over the last few years. But if he gets back fit on a consistent basis, Federico Chiesa, I have no doubt that he can be amongst the top forwards once again. And if Liverpool can work him back into that form, they've got a real gem on their hands as well, to Liverpool. And there's no shortage of Liverpool attacking gems at the minute after Ugo Ekitike's finish as well. The new centre forward scoring 2 and 2 in all the competitions for Liverpool. So he's off to a flyer as well, the Frenchman up front for the Reds. What a game last night. What a way to open the Premier League season. A 6-goal thriller at Anfield. Last minute winners, late goals, great quality from Bournemouth as well. Full credit to them. Two very good teams competing at the highest level and giving us a lot to be entertained by. Here's Anthony Elanga for Newcastle. Trying to work the ball across the box. Well defended by Mings. Watkins does well to drop a little deeper to win the ball for Aston Villa. That's what they've struggled to do so far in this first half, is have that hold-up play and work it to the wider players that can get it forward. And on that occasion, Morgan Rogers, again, just not the right opportunity there, not the right option. Still trying to get into rhythm here, Aston Villa. As I said, still yet to have a shot in this game. Joe Linton will get one across. That's cleared away by Conson, further away by Tielemans. That's a wasteful ball by John McGinn again. Just when you think Villa are able to get back forward, but they're really giving it away cheaply every time when they do get into an area where they think they can break away or try and hit on the attack. And that's a late challenge by Luca Digne, mistimed. The referee not going to his pocket, and he is going to give a Newcastle free kick to Anthony Elanga. He was fouled a little late. He was just clipped. He was clipped rather than anything. Yeah, he was clipped more than anything there from Luca Digne. He never really made much contact. It was more knee-to-knee contact than anything else. And that's a foul, but I think the referee's got that one right in just giving a foul. Craig Pawson, very experienced Premier League referee. And he's made, in my opinion, the right decision there to give a free kick. And just a free kick. Newcastle with a good opportunity from this set piece. Kieran Trippier over it once again. The maestro whips it in, but no takers in there. It goes all the way out for the goal kick. That really says, I'm an Arsenal fan, so one less team to worry about I agree. There are two sides to the story. I definitely don't want him to go to Liverpool. That is basically GG's. Yeah, I think. Well, what do you think of your team for this season? You got to say, if you're honest with yourself, what do you think of Arsenal's summer? What do you think of their transfers? But also, what do you think of their title credentials this season? Do you think they'll win the title? Do you think they'll be in the title race? Do you think they'll drop off? What do you think is going to happen with Arsenal this season? I certainly predict they'll be in the title race, in my opinion, but I just think, I don't know what it is. I said it in my predictions on Thursday, as Kamara there stepping onto that that lazy touch a little bit there from Kieran Trippier, but he does well to recover Trippier just to give away the throw-in. I think Arsenal will be in a title race, but as I said in my predictions, I think there's just something missing with Arsenal. I don't know what it is, and maybe there isn't something missing, and it's just me pre-season. But we'll see how Arsenal do tomorrow away at Man United. That's a massive test on the opening weekend for the Gunners. Certainly so. Long throw in from Villa again, but Nick Pope comes and gathers, and that might be actually the first time that he's probably touched the ball this afternoon inside 37 minutes. I gotta say, he's not been very much involved, Nick Pope. He has had, 13 touches, but I don't know if he's touched it with his hands, other than that catch from that long throw-in from Villa, but they just look a little bit toothless at the minute, Aston Villa. Well, they grew into this game. Newcastle has started brightly. Lovely little jink by Alanga to evade Lucadinha, but good players tracking back again. Morgan Rogers committing that challenge and winning the ball back again for Aston Villa. Boubacar Kamara on the half turn, breaking forward, but he was fouled by Joe Linton, and that's going to be a free kick. I think we finish in the top three. We can win it, but I feel like City and Liverpool have been busier, especially if City will get Rodrigo and Donnarumma. Yeah, they might not be finished, City. They might be looking for a goalkeeper and probably Rodrigo, as you say. Yeah, I think City have been very busy, and they'll be fighting back up there again. I think Liverpool have massively strengthened from a place of strength, being the champions, and I think Arsenal have done some good business, bringing in Zubimendi, bringing in Mosquera as well in that midfield, Noni Madueke from Chelsea, of course, and then obviously Victor Gyökeres. Goes without saying, really, that centre forward they've been crying out for over the last few seasons. I think they've made some good signings, Arsenal, but you kind of think Victor Gyökeres, unproven in the Premier League. Of course, a lot of the signings that have been made this summer, unproven in the Premier League, but unproven in maybe Europe's elite leagues, in a sense, although the Championship is a very good competitive league where he did play for Coventry a number of years ago. So we'll see how he does, and at 27, the expectation is high on Victor Gyökeres, and whether he'll step up to that and deliver on that expectation, we'll find out throughout the season. But a lot of strikers with a bit to prove this season, and a lot of new strikers at the big football clubs. João Pedro going to Chelsea, Gyökeres going to Arsenal, Šeško going to Man United, and of course Ugo Ekitike to Liverpool. Oh, Ollie Watkins has snuck in behind here. He stayed onside, I think. No, he has gone offside. The flag goes up, but not to the appeasement of Fabian Schär there, who wanted the flag up earlier because he had to do unnecessary bits of defending ultimately. Yeah, see that ball in behind? He is offside. He's quite clearly offside. It should flag that right away, the official. It's quite clearly in an offside position there, Ollie Watkins. Guimaraes does well, but snatched upon and thumped away by Onana there to ensure Guimaraes wasn't getting forward. That really says I will have to miss the game. I'll try and catch the game at work, sneak it in somehow. The Arsenal game. Yeah, I'm so looking forward to that game tomorrow. And I will have to see how the players mesh in the first few games before I make the judgment. Yeah, 100%. I think, it's all about that as well. How each team kind of grows with each other and how they create that cohesion. Because we looked last night at Liverpool, and I keep mentioning Liverpool because it's really the only full game we've seen so far. But Liverpool played 4 debutants last night. 2 full-backs, Jeremy Frimpong, Milos Kerkez, Ugo Ekitike and Florian Wirtz. All trying to combine, all a little bit tetchy at times, still trying to get to rhythm with each other in the Premier League rhythm for these new players. So we will see that with a lot of the teams that are bringing in some new quality and new players, that it's not going to be a hit the ground running kind of right off the bat. They know each other back to back like the way they would have last season or with other teams in cohesion. It might take time, but certainly there is a lot of positivity about Arsenal. I think they will be a good side. They will be in the title race, in my opinion. But as you say, we'll have to see how they mesh together and how the squad keeps themselves together for this season. Alexandru, welcome into the chat. Thank you very much for getting involved. Tonali does well to keep that ball for Newcastle. Get to your comment in 2 seconds. As Villa trying to keep possession, but again a little bit sloppy there from Onana. Didn't really need to play that pass forward, and he just then kind of hampers possession. And right back to Newcastle. Here's Gordon. Guimaraes closed down really strongly by Amadou Onana. And now played forward here for Ollie Watkins. Wide to Rodgers. Lays it inside to Onana, who just about kept a hold of the ball with Anthony Gordon pressing him. Kamara. You see this at the minute. Villa are in this situation where Newcastle is sitting back. They're in that shape of 4-5-1 out of the possession. And there's no real movement from Villa. They're all just kind of stand watching the ball. Someone needs to make a run. Someone needs to try and manoeuvre this Newcastle team out of this rigid shape and try and create an opportunity. Try and create a bit of chaos. Well, there's a nice chance from Rodgers to try and make the run in behind, but it was too much on the ball. He was too far gone, and Nick Pope can gather comfortably. Alexander says, hi, I have a question about predictions. Tell us after the beautiful start of Liverpool. Will Liverpool be the new Premier League champions? Anyway, go Liverpool, go. I think last night, Liverpool showed what we expect to see from Liverpool. A very high-quality attacking team with lots of goals in the side. There's no question about that. A little bit defensively frail at times, but overall, they only conceded 3 shots on target. Alisson made 1 save, and the 2 other shots on target were really good finishes by Antoine Semenyo. So I wouldn't be majorly concerned with the 2 goals conceded that Liverpool did concede. 2 very high-quality goals by Bournemouth overall. But the key point for Liverpool this season will be about how many goals they scored and how many they will score. Because 4 against a good Bournemouth side is positive. It is positive, and Liverpool created a really good amount of chances last night. Certainly a lot of good quality chances, and probably could have had more than 4 based on the opportunities they created last night. But yeah, aerially is where I'll watch Liverpool, because they got a lot of headers that they didn't do well enough on, in my opinion. It's Newcastle have this corner. Cleared away at the front post. Away again from the edge of the box. Newcastle will recycle it back with Trippier. A minute and a half to go with the first 45 here at Villa Park. Aston Villa 0, Newcastle 0. Cash does well defending the back post. And now John McGinn maybe has a little bit of room in front of him to try and attack. He lays it inside to Boubacar Kamara, who was tussled, and again Gordon dropping deeper. Hard work rate from Newcastle again, winning the ball back. Yeah, once again, Villa looking like there's something bright happening, and then it just comes crumbling down. And that's a aggressive one from Yuri Tielemans, who felt he won the ball fairly, but the referee says no. A foul on Joe Linton. Yeah, he comes right through the back of Joe Linton there. He can't say that's a clean tackle, Tielemans. It's definitely a foul. Sloppy from Villa again, but Newcastle can't capitalise on that occasion. So Nana holds on to the ball, and he is bundled over by Joe Linton. And that's going to see the first yellow card of the game from the Newcastle midfielder, Joe Linton. There's the first in the referee's book. Yeah. It's a pretty comfortable one. It's a free kick and a yellow card for Joe Linton. Eddie Howe disagreeing, but I'm sure on balance he will look back and think, yeah, that is a foul. And there is the end of the first half. No additional time, which is a little bit of a shock. Not often you see that. And 45 minutes and no more from this first half at Villa Park. And a Villa side that have really struggled to get forward to create any real chances in this first half. It's certainly Newcastle have looked the brighter of the two teams in attacking areas, but so far no damage to either defence. Half time at Villa Park in our first Premier League game of the day. It is Aston Villa 0, Newcastle 0. We're back to analyse the first half in just a few minutes. Sure, one last kick. This is going to be it. This is the moment. Vicario kicks this. And Liverpool are there. Liverpool are Premier League champions. And there it comes. Crystal Palace, for the very first time in their history, are FA Cup winners. Oh, he's found the net. Oh, what a goal. Kvaratskhelia is through. Wants to add a fourth. And does so. Ahmad, oh my goodness me! That is absolutely unbelievable. Rice again. Oh! You thought he couldn't beat the first one. He's gone and bettered it. Another whip ball in. The header is in by Virgil van Dijk. Incredible. Welcome back to Premier League Live, half-time at Villa Park. It's Aston Villa 0, Newcastle 0 at the break. Thank you very much for joining us here this afternoon for this Premier League Live. Our second of 6 live watch-along commentaries this weekend here on LFS. Looking forward to bringing them to you this weekend. Thank you very much for joining us. A first half that wasn't full of goals and wasn't full of much attacking action, certainly not from Villa. But from Newcastle's point of view, they have looked bright in that first 45. But a lot still to come from both teams, I suspect. And really, I want to talk about one player, considering we didn't have any additional time, which was a little bit of a surprise to me for that first half. It's the first time I've seen that in a long while in the Premier League, that there's been no additional time. But there wasn't really much. That probably goes to the point that it's been a very free-flowing, open game. Not many stoppages, not many kind of interruptions to the game. And I think overall, it was a very closely knit battle in terms of, obviously the scoreline is still close. But in terms of the way Newcastle have performed, they have been streets ahead of Aston Villa in that first half. Villa haven't had a shot on target, never mind a shot on target. They haven't had a shot completely. To compare that to Newcastle, who have had 8 shots. However, only 2 of those 8 shots have been on target, so they need to be a little bit more accurate, Newcastle, certainly. But they have got into good areas, and they forced Marco Bizet to make some good saves. And that first real save in the early moments, Anthony Elanga running through one-on-one. Very good save by Bizet, one-on-one. In his first Premier League game for Aston Villa, and you think, what a way, kind of a whirlwind of a start. Lovely little ball in behind. Elanga beats past the Villa defence in one-on-one. And a very, very good save by Marco Bizet, who closes the angle, makes it tough, forces him to go across goal, which gives the keeper the benefit of punching it away, and he does so really, really well. Then there's a couple of headed chances. Anthony Gordon gets on the end of a Harvey Barnes cross that's flown over the top, which was a good opportunity. And another delivery in. It was Guimaraes kept it alive, cut it back. Gordon has an effort from the edge of the box that's parried wide by Marco Bizet again. So Anthony Gordon has looked lively up front for Newcastle, certainly in that auxiliary 9 role. So they've looked bright going forward at the Magpies. But for Villa, there is just no output. I mean, on multiple occasions, Morgan Rogers and John McGinn and Yuri Tielemans and at times Ollie Watkins have all got on the ball, and there's been nothing in terms of output. There's been no way of progressing the ball forward, getting it up the field. And of course, Unai Emery, I'm sure, will be in the dressing room at half-time trying to figure out a way to make sure that happens in the second half. But for Villa's point of view, they want to start with the house on fire. They want to start with a lot of energy and intensity in their first home game of the season. And I think it's their passing that's been lacking as well. A lot of sloppy passes, a lot of overhit balls, a lot of underhit balls, leaving themselves in vulnerable situations in transition moments, which is actually quite ironic, because when Aston Villa were so good at was pouncing upon teams' vulnerabilities in transition last season, and it's actually turned out that it's what's going against Villa in that first half. They look vulnerable in transition because of their own sloppiness, basically, because they're committing bodies forward, but when they do, they're playing risky passes, they're playing sloppy passes that aren't finding their targets, they aren't keeping them in possession. Newcastle are able to close it down, win it back, and get themselves on the front foot. So Villa really have no momentum, they've no control at the minute, and it's all down to the fact that they just haven't been good enough in that first half. I think, of course, Unai Emery will watch, see how to fix it at half-time and try and resolve it ready for the second half. But work to do for Villa if they are to get themselves at least competing to try and be involved in this game. And at the minute it is all Newcastle in terms of the stats. But it is 0-0 at half-time, which will give Villa confidence that there's no damage having been done from that first half at the moment. So it's 0-0 there. In the Championship, the 3 half-12 games are all at the interval. Derby 2, Coventry 2 in that high-scoring game there at Pride Park. Bobby Thomas has scored both goals for Coventry today, but Carlton Morris from the penalty spot levelled once again for Derby. They are 2-2 at the break. Norwich still 2-0 up against Portsmouth. Harry Darling and Josh Sargent with the 2 goals has the Canaries leading on the road. And Wrexham have equalised against West Brom. Isaac Price gave West Brom the lead. He's their only scorer this season. so far in 2 match days. He is the only player to have scored for West Brom after he won 1-0 last week, and they're drawing 1-1 at half-time. Only scored 2 goals, both by Isaac Price. Lewis O'Brien, though, scored the equaliser for Wrexham, so they're back in battling after they lost so late on against Southampton at St Mary's last week. They're at the Stoke Ras, and after a penalty shootout win in midweek in the Carabao Cup, Wrexham are on a high, surely, and looking to try and get their first championship points of the season, but at half-time it is 1-1 in that one. So that's the way we stand at the break. 4 minutes to go before the second half gets underway at Villa Park. Quick recap on last night's Premier League games. This is the whole roster for the weekend, but a recap on last night's game between Liverpool and Bournemouth. A real cracking opener for the season. Ugo Ekitike, after 37 minutes on his Liverpool Premier League debut, scored his first Premier League goal for Liverpool. Ugo Ekitike giving Liverpool the lead. He scored in his competitive debut in the Community Shield just 5 days prior to scoring his first Premier League goal, so he's off with a flyer, Ugo Ekitike. Cody Gakpo, the all-reliable, was actually set up by Ugo Ekitike, who got his first Premier League assist as well last night in setting up Cody Gakpo for his goal to make it 2-0. But Antoine Semenyo scored 2 goals in the space of 13 minutes to equalise the game for Bournemouth, heading into the final 15 minutes of that game. And once again, as Liverpool so often have done, and so often did last season en route to the title, needing late winners, needing late goals to get them over the line to win, and the champions-like mentality rearing its head again for Liverpool. Federico Chiesa off the bench, and within 6 minutes of coming off the bench, he scores what would be the winner. And then Mo Salah, the inevitable Mo Salah, in the 94th minute made it 4-2 to Liverpool, securing and sealing a first win of the season for the champions. Mo Salah scoring his 10th goal on the opening weekend of the season, more than any other player in Premier League history. The next to him has scored 8 goals, so he already had the record from last season when he scored against Ipswich, but he has gone and bettered that record this season and extended his record with the top spot in that listing. Right, half-time, it is Villa 0, Newcastle 0. We're ready for the second half in just a few minutes. Do stay with us. Sure, one last kick. This is gonna be it. This is the moment. Vicario kicks this. And Liverpool are there! Liverpool are Premier League champions! And there it comes! Crystal Palace, for the very first time in their history, are FA Cup winners! Oh, he's found the net! Oh, what a goal! Kvaratskhelia is through, wants to add a 4th, and does so! Ahmad, oh my goodness me! That is absolutely unbelievable. Rice again. Oh! You thought he couldn't beat the first one. He's gone and bettered it. Another whip ball in. The header is in by Virgil van Dijk. Incredible. Welcome back to Premier League Live. Half-time at Villa Park. It is Aston Villa 0, Newcastle 0. Second half on the way in a moment. Don't forget, though, we have another Premier League watch-along commentary for you a little later on as we watch Wolves take on Manchester City at Molineux. That's at 5:30 this evening. And in that 5:30, we'll also recap all of the 3 o'clock results as well. 3 o'clock games, including Brighton Fulham, Sunderland West Ham, and Tottenham against Burnley. Right, the players just returning from the tunnel, or the Villa players returning from the tunnel at Villa Park, and with work to do in the second half for both teams, if either are going to record an opening weekend victory. We will see. Anthony Alanga's looked bright in that first half. What can he produce in the second? Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on post notifications. If you haven't done so already, that would be greatly appreciated. And we thank each and every one of you who is joining us this lunchtime, your Saturday lunchtime, spending it with us. We thank you very much indeed. Well, Eddie Howe with his thinking face there on the bench. Will be Villa kicking towards the Holt end in this second half, and they will get us underway in a moment. With a lot of quality needed from Aston Villa to start this second half as we get underway here at Villa Park once again. A lot of work for Villa to do in an attacking sense. And Newcastle, if they do more of the same, then they could find a way through, but I think they need to be a little bit more accurate when they get into the final third, Newcastle. It's kind of where they've looked a little bit off it, but if they tighten that up a little bit and get one good chance, they could find a way. But here come Villa. John McGinn down the right side, a little bit of a deflection, and that's defended well by Byrne in the middle, and it goes behind for a Villa corner, and that's one way to try and get out with a bit of positivity. And as Unai Emery blesses himself on the sidelines, I think he was looking at that possible handball there, but it's just going to be a corner to Villa. Luca Digne coming over to get ready to take this corner for the home side, and gets a round of applause as he enters that area of the field at the Holt ends. Villa without a shot in the whole of the first half, and with their first corner of the second half, they go short. Back to McGinn. Jinks past his challenger, works it into the box, in the header from Kamara is right at the goalkeeper, Nick Pope. There's their first shot on target of the afternoon. Lovely little work by John McGinn. Did well to be patient. Didn't force the ball in. Waited for the right moment to whip it in. And then Boubacar Kamara got on the end of it. That's a good save. Comfortable gather by Nick Pope, but decent from Aston Villa. Although John McGinn's going to be penalised here for a foul by Craig Pawson. So, not too sure what that's about, but certainly a free kick to Newcastle has been given. Nice work there from Villa to win the ball back. Long ball down the left, but not quite finding its target on that occasion. Goes out of play for a throw. They tighten up their passing. Villa, they can be more of a threat. That's where they were sloppy in that first half. In terms of their passing accuracy, I think it was quite low in the first half. I think it was something like 73%, which is very low for a top-level Premier League team. Certainly not befitting of a top-tier side, 73% passing accuracy. So they'll need to tighten up on that to work to the second half. But, and of course, obviously try and get the ball forward and into good attacking areas, which they already have done with that moment for Boubacar Kamara a few seconds ago. Newcastle were wanting to settle the game down. Well, as I said before the game, anyhow, Newcastle pipped Aston Villa to 5th place and a Champions League spot on the final day last season, and getting that final spot via goal difference, so incredibly close in that centre. But they ended last season, Newcastle, actually on back-to-back defeats. Both 1-0 defeats to Arsenal and Everton in the final 2 league games of the season. So they didn't end on a high in terms of that front, but certainly got Champions League football in doing so. And the last time Newcastle lost more consecutive games than 2 was between December and January of the 23-24 season, when they lost 4 in a row in that run. And they last also did so without scoring, when they went 3 without scoring and losing 3 in a row in 21. Some ball. I gotta apologise. Oh no, the camera's having a laugh with me as well. Thank you very much for that, camera. There we go. Thank you very much for staying with us. This has been an issue. If you were here with us last night, this is an issue you know about. There's an issue that we're having. It's really ridiculous, but I mean, it was completely fine for a good lot of the first half. Completely fine. And then, I don't know what happens. It just goes. I don't know whether it's me. I don't think it is. From all the indications that I've had, it's not. It is an external thing. That there is very little that I can do about that. But I do apologise. We're trying to give you the best coverage as possible. And as I said, this has not been great at all so far, but we are trying to keep you right on track, and I do apologise profusely. This is an issue, as I said, with the provider of Wi-Fi and TV coverage in the UK, and you know, Virgin Media have had a torrid time over the last 24 hours. They have been all over the place. I mean, there was thousands upon thousands of issues last night that have probably persisted over the evening and into today. It's still an issue that's just dropping in and out, and there's just little to do. There's little I can do about it. I mean, I'm trying my best here to fidget with details, little bits and things, and doing everything I possibly can. But thank you very much for staying with us. You've not missed anything while we're away. Villa have been better. They've had only one registered shot though, but they have been better in possession since we had our little interruption. But yeah, thank you very much. I don't think the camera isn't overheating. The camera is fine. The camera is completely fine, but it's a Wi-Fi and TV issue. It's whatever way the providers, whatever issues they're having, it's just causing little interruptions every now and again. It's not consistent. It's not all the time, but it's every now and again it's happening. At the minute, where I am currently, I'm trying to get things resolved. At the minute with Virgin Media, we're in conversation with Virgin Media. Not that you really care about this, but like, we're in conversation to try and get things all fixed and everything renewed in a sense and resolved. So we're in the process of getting that done, because this can't continue. It's just not acceptable. But we will try and soldier on, as I said before, and in the meantime we'll try and get our way through. I have lowered the bit rate to a lower rate, which should help the stream, but as I say, we're trying our best, and thank you all for staying with us. So we'll get back to the football. I think we should. I'll take this graphic off for now. Hopefully it stays consistent. Here's Lucadinha for Aston Villa. Onana to find Ezri Konza. Back to Tyrone Mings. They're better in possession, Villa, certainly, since certainly in the last 5-10 minutes. Oh, just as I say that, they almost get caught in possession there. Ezri Konza under a little bit of pressure, but I think there was maybe an offside flag up there against the Newcastle attacker, which in the end sees Villa. Yeah, he was offside there. I think it was Anthony Gordon that was offside. I'm going to pick up my pen. I dropped my pen in the process of all that chaos. There we are. There we go. Right. Let's get back into things, because I've completely lost my rhythm. But with 26 and a half minutes to go of this one, in the first lunchtime kickoff of the season, John McGinn breaking down the right-hand side. Still 0-0, as I said, but John McGinn trying to work it to Watkins, who does well in the box. Keep it poking it alive, but it wasn't kept alive on that occasion, and Newcastle can come away with the ball. And they didn't get very far with that, as that was nice covering by Matty Cash, just to get the ball back to his goalkeeper and recycle the possession once again for Aston Villa. In the Championship, Derby have taken the lead, and the only change to the scoreline since we last told you. Derby have taken the lead against Coventry for the first time this afternoon. In that one, Ebru Adams has scored. So Derby 3, Coventry City 2 in that one. Very high scoring game there at Pride Park. Here's Morgan Rogers. Rolls it through for Ollie Watkins, takes a touch, has a shot, but straight at the goalkeeper. It was a good opportunity. Nice little run by Morgan Rogers. He sneaks in behind that midfield. Lovely little combination with Yuri Tielemans. And then he rolls it through. Nice little diagonal angle on Ollie Watkins. He comes back inside with a little touch and then has the shot with his left foot. But well gathered by Nick Pope. And it's better from Villa once again between the lines as Newcastle look a little bit sloppy. Have they lost their way a little bit? Rogers pinging it round the corner. McGinn out in that far right hand side. Going to keep the ball alive. Back to Matty Cash. Cash trying to whip the ball in. It's gone all the way through and out. And now Anthony Alanga wants to take a run on for the counter-attack. He's rolled it through for Gordon. Is he onside? It doesn't really matter if Ezri Konsa's last man, and he's going to get a red card. Deemed to be last man, and Ezri Konsa deemed to have taken Anthony Gordon out. And he's going to be off here. Ezri Konsa with a straight red card. And Newcastle fans celebrate like they've scored a goal. We'll see this again. Anthony Alanga, beautiful. Times the run. He's onside because he's in his own half there, Anthony Gordon. And Ezri Konsa, last man, deemed to have stopped Anthony Gordon in running through one-on-one. Let's see it again. And they kind of just collide. Is it a foul? Yeah, he does pull him back with his left shoulder. Yeah, it's definitely a foul, and it's definitely a red card. Not good for my fantasy team. Jesus. But it doesn't really matter. It's not good for Aston Villa either. Ezri Konsa in a tricky position. And Ezri Konsa sent packing with a red card that sees him dismissed by referee Craig Pawson. That is a really sloppy moment from Aston Villa. Just when they looked like they were improving into the game. And that has completely swung this game now back in Newcastle's favour, surely. And again, it was sloppy from Villa, making silly mistakes up the pitch. And as I said, they look really vulnerable in transition. Sloppy pass. They give the ball away, and in transition, Newcastle have looked the better of the two teams, looked really threatening, and Villa have looked vulnerable, and that's come to fruition. In transition, Alanga Gordon, combination fabulous, and Gordon gets on off the back of Ezri Konsa, who tries to stop him, commits a foul, last man, it's a red card, and a free kick to Newcastle from about 20 to 30 yards out, 29, 30 yards. Alanga and Trippier over it. Rudy says, what's the next game you're covering? We are covering a game at 5:30. Wolves against Man City is our next game. At 5:30. Trippier goes short with a free kick. Straight off the training ground is that shot. Skied by Fabian Schär. That was well rehearsed by Newcastle, but not well shot there by Fabian Schär. We see this again. Anthony Alanga, fabulously timed pass, beautifully timed run by Anthony Gordon. Great combination, and it's definitely a red card. It's definitely a red. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I don't want to look at what that's done to my fantasy team, but it's certainly not done anything good for it. I was confident in Ezri Konsa as well. I'll not be confident in him anymore. But it's a fabulous ball by Anthony Alanga, I gotta say. He's been so bright so far today for Newcastle. And he's delivered in a big moment there. Although that wasn't probably the target. Wanted his teammate to run in one-on-one and score. But certainly it's a benefit that they will take into consideration now. Will Newcastle. Here is Sandro Tonali, who has been a little bit quiet today, Tonali, in that midfield. Here's an overlap down the left-hand side from Livramento. Trying to work it towards Joe Linton, who keeps it alive. Now Tonali tried to give the return ball, but nobody in green and white were there to pick it up, and Villa can recycle. With John McGinn. Backs against the wall, surely now, Villa. Down to 10 men, 0-0. Probably looked really lacklustre. This has not been the start to the first game of the season that they would have wanted so far, but Ollie Watkins has done well and passed his man there, Fabian Schär. Watkins did really well there holding on to the ball. What can he make of this? He plays it across the field to Yuri Tielemans, but too slow and waiting around Tielemans. The referee plays advantage when Tielemans was fouled. Again, too slow, Aston Villa. And they work it out to the left side here. Look at Digne. He will fizz one across. Oh, it's fallen to the back post here for John McGinn. Still got it alive against Livramento, but the fullback does really well, Tino Livramento, and denies John McGinn a chance at going towards the goal. 70 minutes gone, 20 to go. Villa 0, Newcastle 0. Newcastle with the extra man now since Ezri Konsa's dismissal. Here is Bruno Guimaraes. Now Anthony Gordon. Sliding challenge denies him a chance to shoot, but Tonali keeps it alive. Working on it now, Newcastle. Out to the left-hand side for Barnes. Right-footed delivery. It's deep. It's too deep, and it's headed behind by Luca Digne for a corner. And that roar from the Newcastle away end at Villa Park. And G'ing their side on to try and go on and kick on and win this game now. This will be their fourth corner of the game for Newcastle. Trippier takes the corner, right-footed, lofted into the air. Again, not really finding anyone of great note there as it's cleared away. Gordon tries to fizz it back in. Again, away by Villa. Ollie Watkins back there defending. Back to Gordon again. He's going to go and shoot, but he hits the first man. Takes him out completely. Once again, Newcastle recycle possession. Bruno Guimaraes whips one around to the back post, but well watched by the new goalkeeper, Bizet. And he's gathered the ball comfortably there, the Villa keeper, once more. Matty Cash was absolutely sent by that shot from Anthony Gordon. He got it right in the lower back there. That's a tough one to take, but he is okay to continue. He certainly would have felt it, there's no doubt about that. Long kick here by Bizet. Can Villa snatch a goal with one less player on the field? That's still possible. Ollie Watkins with an opportunity to maybe do that. They've one less defender, Villa, but they still have the same attack that they've had throughout the game. But interestingly, neither side have gone to their bench just yet. Both have stayed still with their starting 11s. So neither manager has decided to want to make changes just yet. But since that dismissal, 71% possession for Newcastle in the last 5 minutes. Ball whipped in by Elanga. It's fallen to the back post for Barnes, whose shot was blocked by Matty Cash, who took another whack to the torso. Goes behind for the corner. He got it cleanly again. Yeah, lovely ball. Barnes takes it. Right it. Very little distance there. Matty Cash takes a full blow to the torso. It's definitely a really tough one for him to take again, and my goodness. Corner here to be taken left. Bizet will take another goal kick. Just over 15 minutes to go. Aston Villa 0, Newcastle 0, Villa down to 10. Is there a winner in this? Or can Villa cling on for what would be not a bad point in the opening day against a good side, considering the circumstances of what the game has been? They've looked really poor up front, Villa, and have now gone down to 10. Surely there will be somewhere a positive in getting a draw out of this if they do hang on for that, Villa. Burn. Livramento out wide to Barnes. Barnes up against Matty Cash. Harvey Barnes does get the cross in. It's deep. It's over the head of Morgan Rogers, but it's fired well over the bar by Anthony Alanga. Well wide of the accurate, well wide of the confines of the goal. Goal kick. Here's a chance for Newcastle. Well, I said now the manager had gone to the bench. Well, it looks like Newcastle are about to go to the bench here. Jacob Murphy is ready and waiting to enter the fray in a moment. It's going to see probably the most threatening player today for Newcastle, and Anthony Alanga coming off the field. So a straight swap on that right hand side. He looked positive, Anthony Alanga, on his first Premier League appearance for Newcastle. 6 Premier League goals in the Nottingham Forest side last season. 11 assists for Anthony Alanga across the last Premier League season, so he certainly has goal contributions in his locker. And he's been replaced by Jacob Murphy. He also can provide a lot as well for Newcastle down that right side. But 12 minutes to go, still goalless. It's not been the most frivolous of games so far. It's been quite rigid. It's been quite strong defensively from both teams, but really more poor from Villa in attacking sense rather than defensively solid from Newcastle in that impact, as they're going to get a free kick here, Villa. Anthony Gordon a little late on Matty Cash. He's kind of been bullied in the last few minutes. Couple of shots hit against him and then he was fouled there by Anthony Gordon. It's a very good tackle by Matty Cash, and then Anthony Gordon. The momentum carries him through Matty Cash, and that's a foul. Here's a run for John McGinn down the right side. He's looking for an option in the middle towards Morgan Rogers. They win the second ball with Digne. Bounced away again. Digne trying to keep the pressure on down that left, but Newcastle find a way to break out. Murphy under pressure from Tielemans. Fouled by Yuri Tielemans. He really hasn't found the line between fair tackling and giving away free kicks, Yuri Tielemans. It's not been his greatest game in the midfield for Aston Villa. Trippier. Murphy. Kimmich. Just over 10 minutes to go. Share. Is Newcastle still trying to press and probe this 10-man Villa side? That was definitely played across by Livramento, but too far ahead of Anthony Gordon. It was a lovely little deft cross facing away from goal. He might have been just offside if he was there. Livramento, lovely little cross, and then Anthony Gordon wasn't just there enough, quick enough, couldn't get there quick enough, and goes out for a goal kick. But it's a decent opportunity. Well, Newcastle have won their opening league game in each of the last 3 campaigns. That is more times than any in the previous 14 campaigns combined, winning only 2 of the previous 14, drawn 4, lost 8. Well, Unai Emery's side are unbeaten at Villa Park in the last 21 home games in all competitions, winning 15, drawing 6, and have won each of the last 8 at home in all comps. That's the longest run without a defeat at home since a run of 24 games between September 1976 and May 1977. Long clearance there by Villa. One for Ollie Watkins to chase if he can get on the back of Byrne, but Dan Byrne does really, really well. So composed. Caoimhan tried to poke one through there for Gordon to chase, but he couldn't quite get on the end of it there. Well, Newcastle were absolutely thrashed 4-1 here in their last visit to Villa Park back in April. Ollie Watkins, Ian Matson, Amadou Onana and a Dan Byrne own goal helped Villa to a thumping victory on that day by 4-1. And the Magpies have lost 5 of their last 6 Premier League trips to Villa Park. The only exception in that came in a 3-1 win in January of 2024. And that was a Fabian Schär brace that carried them to 3 points on that occasion. So all the stats, all the history should go in Villa's favour against Newcastle here at Villa Park. But so far today, it's rather Villa hanging on rather than trying to take the game to Newcastle. They haven't been really anywhere near good enough up front. They look really toothless. And I am a little bit surprised, as I was just about to say that, I'm a little bit surprised that Unai Emery hasn't gone to the bench. Well, Donyell Malen is ready and waiting to enter the fray now. So Donyell Malen, who is in my fantasy team, Donyell Malen, who will be coming on, along with Lewis Miley, who's coming on for Newcastle. So Miley coming on, a 19-year-old for Newcastle. And Donyell Malen is going to be coming on for Aston Villa in a moment. Joe Linton is the one that's coming off for Lewis Miley. And the substitution for Villa is going to see their captain John McGinn coming off. And he's going to be replaced by Donyell Malen. Maybe some fresh legs in that attack to maybe try and snatch this game for Aston Villa. But they're in a position at this moment in time of hanging on really to this, what would be a point as it stands. As I said, that wouldn't be a bad result for Villa considering all the circumstances of today's game, but overall you want to try and get off the win if you're still in the game. It's a risky one to take for Unai Emery, but risk and reward, finding that balance. Miley. 6 minutes of the 90 to go. Lewis Miley gets the ball back from Trippier. Now Byrne to Tonali. Very compact Villa defence, with only Watkins staying up the field a little bit further than everybody else. As Newcastle try and find a way through this deep Villa defence now. Bruno Guimaraes all the way back to Schär, who delivers it wide to Trippier. Trippier back to Murphy. And now Trippier again. He tries to loft it over the top for Murphy to make a run in behind, but well closed out by Villa, but recycled once again by Newcastle. And Byrne just settles it back to his goalkeeper Nick Pope. To Schär. Goes to that long diagonal, Fabian Schär. Pinged out to the left channel. Livramento on the overlap. Finds Harvey Barnes on the edge of the box. Barnes rolls it across. Guimaraes tried to step in there, but it was nicely stopped there by Onana. But back it comes to Barnes as Villa give it away cheaply again. Ollie Watkins trying to win the ball here deep, and he does well actually, manoeuvring that ball into a good challenge. And Rogers was challenged well as he tried to break away. And now Newcastle down the left hand side. Works the ball. Here's Anthony Gordon. Oh, he couldn't get it cleanly controlled. He let it run away from him. That would have been a great opportunity if he got firm control of that, Gordon. but he didn't. And it just evaded him. How, I'm not too sure, but it did. Mees to thump it long for Villa again. It's one-way traffic at the moment. Villa once again aren't able to get out. Miley tried to go wide to Murphy, but he was always behind that ball, Jacob Murphy. And it's going to be a throw-in to Aston Villa. A quick update from the Championship. Derby were 3-2 up the last time we told you against Coventry. It is now Derby 3, Coventry 5. 3 goals in the space of 7 minutes for Frank Lampard's side has them leading 5-3 at Pride Park in an absolute thriller in that one. Still 2-0 to Norwich against Portsmouth and Wrexham, who were level against West Brom the last time we told you. It's now 3-1 to the Baggies, so it looks like the Baggies are going to get 2 successive wins to start the season, and it's going to be 2 successive defeats for Wrexham to start the campaign, it seems. Goals from Jed Wallace and a second for Isaac Price on the day. Here's Boubacar Kamara, finding a little bit of space here for Villa. They've got bodies forward. It's a 3-on-4 in Newcastle's favour. Ollie Watkins now finds Marlin. Marlin, who has the shot, but well saved by Nick Pope. From the tight angle, it was difficult for Donyell Marlin, but he had a go, and you can't begrudge him of that. And it was a decent opportunity. And Villa haven't created many of those today. Here is Anthony Gordon down the left-hand side, drifting into the box. Nice roll back, finds Harvey Barnes, who couldn't keep his shot down. Well, is this going to be the tail of the tip for today? Villa, non-existent really in attack, and Newcastle, when they did get into good areas, just haven't been able to keep it down or get it on target anywhere near enough. Sloppy from Newcastle there once again. That was their 13th shot of the afternoon, but they haven't had a shot on target in all of the second half, and just 2 shots on target over the whole game. Compare that to Villa, who have actually had 3 shots on target, but all 3 of their shots so far. So Villa being accurate when they get forward, but coming forward a lot less. And when Newcastle do get into the final third, they're being very wasteful with their opportunities at the minute. Rudy says, damn, Eze is joining Tottenham. I really wanted him at Arsenal. Yeah, there was some hint that he's pushing for a move to Tottenham, I heard, the last time I heard. Maybe there's been a development in the last few hours or so, but that would be a big move for Tottenham to get him. He's a very good player. Very, very good player. Here is Anthony Gordon. Barnes, who tripped himself up and then tripped Matty Cash up as Cash won the ball back, and he's been fouled again. Matty Cash. Free kick to Aston Villa. And it looks like William Asula is coming on. So another attack and change for Eddie Howe in these late stages to try and take this game for Villa, or for Newcastle, sorry, and take it away from Villa. Well, as I said, Newcastle and Villa met back in April. Villa won that one. Aston Villa haven't won consecutive Premier League games against Newcastle since doing the double over them in the 2004-05 season. As William Asula is on for Newcastle. Could he be the difference maker? Last night saw a super sub come off the bench and win it for Liverpool. Harvey Barnes has been replaced by William Asula. Can he be that super sub for Newcastle in the late stages of this one? He's going to have his first run down the left side, but the ball is not going to stay in play. That was too far ahead of him anyway from that pass. Well, this is the second time in 3 seasons that these two have actually met on the opening weekend of the season. And it was a good start to the campaign in 23-24 when they did meet on the opening day, when Newcastle won 5-1 at St James's Park. So a cracking victory for Newcastle on that opening day. But it's quite the opposite to that here this afternoon, as it remains goalless. And we will have 6 additional minutes at the end of the 90. 6 minutes. I'm sure Villa will keep the pressure on to try and commit a few more bodies forward and maybe have a chance here. Rodgers from behind. Try to find Marlon. A little overhit and well covered out by Nick Pope. Here's Guimaraes. Out to the left-hand side it comes for Gordon. Strifting inside. Still going, Anthony Gordon. He's going to have a go! And that's well saved. Comfortably saved in the end by Marco Bizet, who has been called into action a few times this afternoon, but as I've said, he's done well on his Premier League debut for Villa. Marco Bizet. The goalkeeper has looked steady between the sticks for the home side. He hasn't been overly tested, you gotta say, but when he has been called into action, it's certainly looked like a calm pair of hands to have at the back there for Aston Villa. Matty Cash to take that throw down the right side. Long into the box. Lovely little hold up by Rodgers. He's got Mallon in the centre. Rodgers still holds on to the ball. He felt he was bundled over, but kind of just lost his balance there, says the referee. As Villa try and keep the pressure on. Newcastle look to be squandering a little bit. Seems like 10-man Villa might have one last push at trying to snatch this themselves, which would be some storyline, but it would be well befitting of an opening weekend twist of drama. Here is Bizet, the goalkeeper, goes long up the middle. A little bit too telegraphed, but that was nice. He won back by Kamara, and it sets Villa off on a chase here. But Rodgers completely taken out, and fairly. And now Newcastle have it. Down the right side comes Murphy. Drifts inside, finds Bruno Guimaraes with space to have a shot. He decided to try and pass it, and it was well stopped by Boubacar Kamara, who intercepts that opportunity. And with 2 Villa players on the ground, the referee, Craig Pawson, calls for an Aston Villa free kick. 3.5 minutes to go, and with 10 men for the last, I don't actually know how long, for probably at least 25-30 minutes. It would be 25 minutes ago since Ezri Konsa was shown a red card. You got to say, Aston Villa haven't been massively tested by Newcastle. As I said, they've only had one shot on target, and that was from Anthony Gordon's effort from about 25-30 yards. So really, the defence of Villa has solidified, even though they've lost the defender. Make that make sense. Long kick by Bizet again. Is there time for a winning goal? Is there the appetite for a winning goal here at Villa Park? As the ball was in the air, it's brought down by Trippier, who measures one down the right side. William Osula breaks from nowhere. Osula, edge of the box. Can he create something? Goes for the little link up. He's going to have a go. The shot was well deflected by Tyrone Mings. And Anthony Gordon was going to keep it in play, but he's just going to let it roll for the corner. It was a good block by Tyrone Mings. Osula stepped onto his left foot, has the shot, and it was coming right at the head of Tyrone Mings, who guided it away from his goal. And now a corner for Newcastle. Surely their last real great attempt. From a set piece. Whipped it in. Oh, it's left the hands of the keeper, but it's thumped away by a Villa player at the back post. I think it might be Tielemans that got rid of it, but Bizet committed, and he didn't get a hold of that one. And he was very lucky that one of his teammates was there to bail him out of trouble there, because that could have been very risky. Unai Emery cheering his side on, applauding the work rate of his team. And it's not really gone their way this afternoon. Is it going to be insult to injury for Villa? Murphy with a cross, cleared away by Mings. Miley tries to flick it back forward, but it's not kept alive as Watkins brings it down for Aston Villa. He's been quiet, but can he be lively in the later stages? He can't. He felt he was hit in the face there. And I think the referee has given a foul, I believe. Yeah, he was completely wrestled there by Fabian Schär, and then Tonali steps in and just kind of inadvertently catches him in the face. I mean, I think that's definitely a foul on Ollie Watkins. Into the last minute of the 6 added. And you feel that maybe this game has got away from both teams in a sense. Both with a lot of work still to do. to be at their very best. Some warm-up, you gotta say. On kick by Mings from the free kick for Aston Villa, and that's really nicely dealt with by Livramento. Straight back to Nick Pope, who might try and create one last chance for Newcastle. Trippier. We've elapsed the 6 minutes. They're going to get forward. They need to do it quickly. But there's no time. There's the final whistle. And it is a 0-0 draw at Villa Park to open the season here in Birmingham. 10-man Villa had to hang on for a good 25-30 minutes after Ezri Konsa was shown a red card for a last-man challenge on Anthony Gordon. It was as clear as day, it was blatant. But you gotta say, when they had the extra man advantage, Newcastle didn't take control of it, and they didn't use that to their advantage. In the end, Aston Villa really weren't hanging on overall, because Newcastle looked a little bit lackluster towards the final quarter of the match. Villa had a go, but on the day they just weren't accurate enough in the final third. They weren't even good enough to get into the final third on more than enough occasions. A bit of a falling flat, shall we say, this game. All the hype, all the expectation, but these are so evenly matched that they couldn't find a way past either defence or either goalkeeper today. Final score here at Villa Park. It is finished 10-man Aston Villa 0, Newcastle United 0. And there is our second result of the Premier League weekend. After 6 goals witnessed last night at Anfield, they have balanced it out by not a single goal here at Villa Park. But it was a red card that was the talk of the town today, Ezri Konsa's red card. And to say that that would be a bad result for Villa would be the completely wrong thing to say, because I think that is a positive result overall. They weren't great in attack, but defensively they were solid today. They left Newcastle with inaccurate opportunities. They knew they weren't great up front today, Villa. But they made sure if they couldn't score, they weren't conceding. And 10-man Villa hang on, hold on, and get the draw and get the result. So there is another result in the bag. 2 down and 358 games to go of the Premier League season, and 8 still to come this weekend, 3 of which are coming up in around about 35 minutes. But our next game is this evening, where we'll recap those 3 o'clockers and bring you a live watch-along commentary of Wolves taking on Manchester City from Molineux. That's a little later on. Thank you very much though for joining us. Aston Villa and Newcastle lock heads at Villa Park, but they couldn't find a way past each other. It finished goalless. We'll see you later.